Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Mary Branigan, and today I want to share with you my testimony of how I met Jesus in the Bible. So, to just give you a bit of a background about myself, I was born and raised in Kenya by a single mom, and I had very religious grandparents, but my mom was not a practicing Christian. So we will not go to church or read the Bible or anything that Christians do. So I grew up with a very little knowledge of who Jesus was or what Christianity is about. But I called myself a Christian. I think I call myself a Christian because I was born in a Christian home, or in a Christian background. So that's what I thought Christianity is. You just become a Christian because your parents or your grandparents are Christians. So growing up, life was a challenge because I grew up without that father figure. But my mom made sure I had everything. So I went to school and finished and went to college. And then at the age of 21, I traveled to the UK for a better life or greener pastures, if you like. So I was very excited because it was an opportunity, or call it a golden opportunity, for me to change my family's life, especially my mom. So I worked so hard when I was in the UK. Um, my life was go to work so hard, save a lot of money, and do things in Kenya. And that was all I did. And life in the UK for me was extremely difficult, you know. Instead of the happiness I thought I was gonna get when I get there, uh, I was lonely, I was depressed, had anxiety about everything, and everything I did, I never seemed to be happy, you know. Even if I earned more money, I was not happy, really, you know. I had no family or friends. So, um, so life was up and down, you know. I was depressed one time I'm okay, and it was very challenging for me. But I kept going. So eventually I met some friends, and I lived a life fully rebellious towards God. So it was a life of drunkenness, sex, parties. It was greediness for money. It was violence and anything that made me feel good at the time. But God was still working in that midst of my storm. He was still doing something. So sometimes I would be so stressed and depressed, and I could not figure out what was going on. What is it that I didn't have? I tried everything. I was doing everything that I could, and I still had that void and empty space in my heart. And I remember this one night I was so sad, and I sat down on my bed crying and thinking, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to try and fix my own life or try and do things to satisfy myself because it was not working for me. And I remember that I've heard about Jesus, you know, my grandparents, I've heard them talk about him all the time. And I thought, Jesus, why don't you come and fix my life? Because I am done fixing it. I am done trying to make things work. And I said, Jesus, you fix it. And I remember I said a nice prayer, and I felt good about that prayer. And this was the beginning of me becoming a Christian. So I slowed down, not stop, I slowed down on my life. And when I say slow down, I mean I stopped drinking, or drinking as much as I was, and like canceling my friends' invitation to night outs, and just slowed and kind of reduced the time I spend with my friends, and I tried to read the Bible and try to practice what Christians do, or what I thought that they did, Luckily, I had a friend who was encouraging me, and she gave me a Bible, and I downloaded a Bible on my phone where I could listen to the scriptures, and I was happy about this feeling of a new beginning, because when you have lived a life of making really bad choices of your life, falling into bad relationships, because you just need that person to love you, and you ended up in like abusive relationships and violence relationships, and you feel like your life is so messed up, so you feel like I could just do with a brand new fresh start. And that's how I felt. And this feeling of I've started a new journey, it felt like a new beginning, and I loved it. So I started, and I was doing so well. And after some time, I met my husband now, and my boyfriend at the time. And I was very excited because I met someone who was interested in Christianity, and also he said he liked to go to church. And I was like, wow, he's perfect. I wanted somebody who could go to church with me, who could pursue this Christianity with me. And so we started going to church together, and we started dating. And I remember life was perfect. And I thought, this is what I've been looking for. I have God, and I have someone who's promising to marry me and make life with me. We were planning our future, and life became like, that's it. I'm happy now. I'm done. This is what I've been looking for. But the problem with that, it reminds me of Matthew 13 about the seeds in the soil, because it was as if my seed has been choked by this beautiful life that I had made, wealth and happiness, and we could enjoy life a little bit more than I would when I was on my own. And it choked the seed. I forgot my commitment to the Lord. I still went to church with him, but reading the Bible, practicing Christianity or anything else that I had started, I totally forgot about it, because it was as if I have what I've been asking God to give me, someone to come and fill that part where I feel loved, and I feel like somebody's giving me attention, somebody's there for me. I forgot my commitment. So I would go to church on a Sunday. Sorry, I'll go to clubbing on a Saturday, and then I'll go to church on a Sunday. And I did that for a good whole year. So I was living with my boyfriend. We moved in together. We were cohabiting. Basically, we were living in sin, but still going to church and professing to be Christians. And we didn't see anything wrong with that. We were planning to get married, so we kept giving ourselves excuses that we are going to get married. So it's okay, even if we cohabit and live together and have sex and all that, which is sinful, and that's basically fornication. But because we were going to get married, it was okay. One thing that God was doing, or let me say God kept in my life, was that we were still going to church, so we could still hear God's word. God was still around us, I would say. He was still present. We didn't fall away completely and leave everything. There was that still part where there was still hope, I would say, yeah. So in that period of time, I got pregnant with my daughter, and when my daughter was around 4 months old, we went to church just as usual, And by this time I had met friends in church. I had made really nice friends in church. So this particular day, a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine in church, was one of the prayer teams. So she was standing at the back of the church, and anybody who needed a prayer would go to one of them. So I watched her and I saw her standing on her own. Probably she doesn't know this, but probably she'll find out after this video. So she was standing on her own, and I thought, oh, I'm just gonna make up that I need a prayer to just for her to feel like she has prayed for someone today, like a girl support or something. So that's what I thought at the time, but I didn't know that that was the Holy Spirit was working through that. So I got up and went at the back of the church and say, hi, you can pray for me. And she said, yeah, of course. So she held my hands, and we closed our eyes. And then she said, so what do you want me to pray for? And I thought, oh no, I didn't think about that, did I? So I just made something up really quick, and I said, why don't you pray for me that when I read the Bible, God help me to understand? And she did. She said a nice short prayer. And then I went and sat down, and I felt so good about myself that I have supported my friend that day. So I sat down, and the church finished. We went back home. But one thing that I remember is I could not shake off what had happened in church. I could not forget about it. I could not forget that she had just prayed for me to understand the Bible. And at home, I didn't have a Bible that I understood. Okay, I had a King James version, which every time I tried to read it, it was so difficult for me to understand. So I would eventually just put it aside, and eventually I actually did not read it at all. So because I was a stay-at-home mom, I had a lot of time in my hands. So I went and bought a Bible and said, you know what, I'm going to start reading. I believe that prayer, God has opened my eyes, right? Yeah, okay. So I bought a Bible and I started reading from I bought an ESV Bible, yeah, and I started reading from the book of John, because I've heard a lot of people say that you start reading from the book of John. So I did. I started reading the book of John. It was different. These words were not just words. They were words that were speaking to my soul, my spirit, or something was happening inside of me. These words were speaking to me directly. I felt like they were addressed to me. They meant something for me. It was like you take a dry sponge and you put it inside water, and it sucks all the water and becomes heavy. And that's how it felt in me. And I can't even explain or put it in words what it felt like. And this is the miracle that was happening inside my heart, that God had opened my eyes to see his word and to understand. But at the time, I did not know that was what was happening. All I knew is that whatever I was reading was so meaningful to me. Whatever I was reading was so understandable to me. Whatever it was true. I don't know how I know it was true, but I knew it was true, because it was like feeding me, and I was getting excited after every single passage I was reading. Jesus is the bread of life. That he has forgiven me my sins. And that was so important for me, because I had so much baggage that I had carried from all my wrong choices, my sinful life, my rebellious life, the guilt that I always felt that I had chosen. And someone promising to take all that away was so beautiful. And I had never seen that before. And I kept reading and kept reading. And the more I read, the more I believed what the word was saying, the more I felt closer and closer to God, or lighter and lighter of myself. And it was very exciting. I remember my boyfriend would come home from work, And all I wanted to do is to tell him of what I've been learning. And I remember I was so annoying because he was like, okay, okay, okay. And I couldn't stop talking about it. I had met Jesus in the Word, and I could not stop talking about this Jesus I had met. It was so beautiful. And I remember I finished the book of John, and I went to the book of Acts, and I went to the book of Romans. I could not stop reading. But I remember the excitement was so big. But in the middle of the New Testament, something changed or something happened. It was not excitement anymore. It was something different. I felt like the Holy Spirit had given me glasses, and I started now seeing my sinfulness. God starts showing me of the kind of life I'm living. He starts showing me of my filthiness, of my foul mouth, because I would swear words coming out of my mouth, and it was a lifestyle. But this time when I read the Bible and I saw what God has said, and I look at myself, I knew that I was not that disciple that God was talking about. I knew I was not that disciple of Jesus Christ who does not say profane words, the disciple that is faithful, the disciple that does not lie. I wasn't that disciple at all. So he showed me all my dirt, all my filth, all my lies, all my deception, and I was so sad. I was very sad, and it was a godly sorrow, because what I did was I started repenting. I remember I was bawling out, crying and repenting to the Lord, and I was taking all these things that he was showing me. And the more I took them off, it was like a layer of an onion. As you take layers off, the more the more you get to the inside of it, and God was beautifully working in me and cleansing me. And it wasn't that I was doing things I didn't want to do. He gave me a desire for him. So that desire was I don't want to do this anymore. It wasn't that I'm being forced to stop doing the things I love doing. It was a desire to hate those things because they kept me away from God. So I loved doing it. I loved putting all these things away, because the more I did that, the closer I knew that I was coming to him. And I felt it. I felt lighter. I felt good. I can't explain the feeling, but I felt cleaner. My conscience was getting cleansed. Before, I never felt clean. I knew all the things I had done. I knew all the things I was watching. I knew all the things that I was choosing that were wrong. But this time I felt like I was getting cleansed, and it was a new chapter for me. It's so beautiful to even think about it now. So I changed a lot of things in my life. He gave me a new heart and a new spirit, that I loved righteousness and hated wickedness. I started desiring holiness. I desired purity. I desire all the things that he says he loves in the Bible. The Bible became like a light to my path. The Bible talks about that. It became, whatever it's in the Bible, it's what I want. It's what I want to follow. And he gave me great desires in my heart to love him, to follow him. And I couldn't stop talking about him. That's one thing I know, that I could not stop talking about him to my friends, to my family, to my husband now. At the time it was my boyfriend, and then we got married. I still could not stop talking about him, and I still today I cannot have enough of talking about Jesus. I met him in the Bible, and since that day I had never stopped reading my Bible every single day until today. Because if I met him in the Bible, I want to continue meeting him life now is full of light, and that's not my light. but the light that Jesus Christ shone in my heart. And that's my testimony and the miracle that happened to me. And that's how I met Jesus through the Bible. Thank you so much, guys, for listening.